Hey everybody, Paul here. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the paperwork involved when buying a used car in Mexico. I know this topic is not super exciting, but I do get asked a lot about it, so I decided to do a video on it. And even if you don't need this information right now, if you ever do, you'll know where to find it. You'll be like, didn't Paul do a video on that? Yeah, I did. If you like videos like this one, don't forget to hit the like button. It just really helps me out. You know, I've helped a lot of people buy and sell cars over the years in Mexico. In fact, the last time was only a couple of weeks ago in the state of Quintana Roo. I helped a friend register his newly acquired used car. Just a heads up, even if you buy a used car from a dealership, chances are that they are not going to register the car for you unless you make some special arrangements for them. So whether you buy from a dealership or a private individual, you'll need to make sure that you have all of the paperwork that I'm going to be talking about squared away. Or you're not going to be able to get the thing registered. And you want to get tags for it, right? The first thing we're going to need is the original factura for the vehicle. This is the original sales invoice. It has all the information about the car on it, and it's printed on security paper just like a car title would be in the US. In fact, in Mexico, this is essentially your car title. So don't lose it and never leave it in the vehicle. If you bought the vehicle on credit, you won't have the original factura. Just like you wouldn't have the original car title in the United States if you were still paying on the car. In that case, you're going to have something called a Carta Factura, which is a letter from the person or the company holding the original factura, and that will allow you to register it. This letter should not be dated more than 60 days before registering the vehicle, and you may want to check with your particular municipality because they may even want less than 30 days. This letter or Carta Factura should also be accompanied by a copy of the original factura, both front and back. If you bought from a private individual, chances are you just paid cash for the car and you're just going to have the original factura. Now, the seller transfers rights over to the buyer by signing the back of the factura and writing something like this. Yo, seller's name, cedo la propiedad de este automóvil a buyer's name como nuevo propietario de dicho vehículo. Then you're going to put the municipality and the date. This should be the date that the transaction was done, that the car was bought or sold, and of course the signature of the seller. For the linguistically challenged folks out there, here's a translation of what it actually says. I, the seller, concede the ownership of the vehicle to the buyer as the new owner of said vehicle. Now don't take up too much space on the back of the factura because each time the vehicle is sold, you're going to have to repeat this step. Now you're not done yet. Now some people will just sign over a car title on the factura, but they may have trouble registering it later. I can tell you that when I went a couple of weeks ago, one of the requirements was to have a sales contract to show who bought it, who sold it, and have it witnessed by two people. The funny thing is that requirement did not appear on the official list of requirements at the government office where you register vehicles. Nevertheless, if you didn't have it, you weren't registering your car. If you're doing a private sale, you can use something called a Carta Responsiva to meet that requirement. Even if it's not a requirement at the particular municipality you're registering the car at, it is always a good idea to do this document. I'm going to put a link in the description portion of the video where you can download a Carta Responsiva in PDF format and you can just fill it out. The form's not difficult to fill out. In order for it to be accepted, you must include copies of everyone's official identification that signs it. That means the buyer, the seller, and both witnesses. It's also extremely important to make sure that the signatures on the document match the ones in the identifications that are attached to the document. Otherwise, it's not going to be accepted. Signatures are just a big deal in Mexico. So before you sign, look at the signature in your passport and try to copy it as closely as possible. Now, I know some of you may have already keyed in on that part that you have to attach a copy of your official identification to this document that's being given to someone else. And that may not make you too comfortable, but this is really common in Mexico. And if you're going to live in Mexico, well, you're just going to have to get used to doing that. Another thing you're going to want to ask for from the seller is proof of payment of past registration fees and taxes. When you go to register the car you just bought, you may be required to show proof that all of the past taxes and fees have been paid on the vehicle. So you're going to have those documents. The last time I helped a neighbor transfer ownership of a vehicle, they asked for the records from the last 5 years. Now, if you don't have proof for a particular year, you may actually be required to pay taxes for that year. Next thing you're going to need is proof of address. This one is for the buyer. The preferred proof of address in Mexico is the electric bill, also known as the CFE bill. But most jurisdictions will allow you to either do a water bill, a rental agreement, or even bank account information that shows that address on it. The next thing on our list is a driver's license. Lately, several jurisdictions have started asking for copies of the buyer's driver's license, the person registering the car. Many of them will accept a foreign driver's license, which is good. Again, the requirements are going to vary by municipality. Next thing you're going to need to register your car is official identification. You will need official identification, and most jurisdictions in Mexico do not include a driver's license in the list of accepted documents. If you don't have a Mexican voter ID card because you're not a citizen, then be sure to bring your passport. It's always accepted. The next thing that's super important to bring when registering a car in Mexico is copies, and still more copies. Government offices in Mexico will not make copies for you, so make sure you bring copies, black and white, of every document and everyone's identification whose signatures appear on these documents, both front and back. When copying the factura, the copy should be two-sided. Let's talk about visa considerations. No, I'm not talking about your credit card either. I'm referring to your immigration status. Generally speaking, a non-citizen cannot register a vehicle unless they have either a temporary or permanent resident card or have become a citizen. I use the term generally speaking because the rules do change from municipality to municipality. For example, I can tell you the last time I checked in the municipality of Tulum, they did not require any type of immigration documentation. So before you buy a car, you need to make sure you can register the car. And you're going to be registering it in that municipality where you live, so it's a good idea to go down. And if they are asking for certain kinds of immigration documents and you don't have those documents, then either don't go buy a car or you're going to have to fall back on some other plan, like maybe registering the car in someone else's name. Now, it should be somebody you trust so they don't come steal your car one night, but that is a common thing that people do. So what is all this going to cost? Well, the cost for transferring a vehicle and getting new tags for it does vary by jurisdiction. Like I said, I've helped a lot of people do it, and probably anywhere from 3,800 to 5,000 pesos is what we're talking. So like 200 to 250 US. Still, it could be more, so you want to make sure you bring some cash or a credit card with you. Well, that's it for today. I'll be doing more videos about vehicles in Mexico because it is a huge topic, like determining the value, nationalizing foreign plated vehicles, etc. If any of those things sound like something that would be interesting to you, you might want to subscribe. I guess that's about it. Until next time, hasta luego.